Cognitive distortions are thinking errors that are common for those of us with anxiety. Now, everybody has thinking errors sometimes, whether or not you have anxiety, because it's just kind of the way that we function as humans. Cognitive behavioral therapy looks specifically at these thinking errors, at these negative cognitions, and talks about ways to challenge and cope with them. Now, I wanted to go off track here a little bit and talk a little bit about cognitive behavioral therapy because a lot of people hate it. And I'll tell you that originally, when I first started becoming a therapist, I was a little bored of it too, because as a therapist and as a human, I tend to be more existential in my thinking, which is meaning of life stuff, how to deal with the meaning of life, the being a human stuff. And cognitive behavioral therapy seemed too simplistic to me. Like I could just feel myself resist it. But as I actually got into the work of doing therapy, which you do in your last year of school, you get a practicum and then an internship where you are being closely supervised as you start working with clients, I realized that cognitive behavioral therapy underlies so much of the work that we do. And the mistake is when we think it's the whole thing instead of part of the thing. And CBT can be really helpful if we use it to interrogate that existential crisis. That is to say, nothing fixes everything because we are living in a world that is imperfect and complicated, and much of it is outside of our control. So one of the complaints about CBT is it doesn't acknowledge the systemic issues that cause much of our pain. And that's true. You can't think your way out of poverty. You can't think your way out of climate crisis. You can't think your way out of the current political strife. No, that's not a matter of just putting on a shiny, happy visage and pretending like things are fine. And in fact, doing that is a sign of, I think, less good mental functioning. Pretending that everything is fine when it is not, that denial is not healthier, even if you end up kind of being happier, because happiness is not necessarily the point. Isn't this so complicated? But that's part of what I wanted to start bringing to these episodes is this great big messy complication that is anxiety work.